so much.
Dude, this is Jason Vallotton. Real quick, Jason, what you work at Bethel Church, right?
Yeah.
What exactly is your position right now?
So I oversee all the pastoral care departments at Bethel Church.
Oh,
So
dang.
counseling departments. Yeah. Well, I don't know. A lot of counseling,
Yeah.
a lot of teaching classes.
Uh-huh.
And so a couple years ago, I transitioned out of the school ministry.
hmm
And when Danny Silk left and went to um, Jesus Culture, I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah.
Danny Silk transitioned out. When he transitioned out, I came in and drowned in his shoes for a couple years.
Totally.
And so now, just help any department that connects to emotional health, counseling. I help to oversee that.
Dude, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that obviously includes kind of like marriage counseling, family. Do you have like inner healing departments as well? Is that kind of in that umbrella?
The whole deal.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. What
Yeah.
kind of in that zone real quick, I'm actually kind of curious. Do you guys have you guys still have like the healing, like are they still doing like I know they were doing sozos, but for a while they were doing like a kind of like an inner healing like ongoing sessions. I don't know if that makes sense. Is that still kind of happening or?
Center. Absolutely. Our transformation center has counselors there now. Plus, we do sozos. We do alcohol and drug addiction, marriage and family therapy. There's quite a bit that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What actually brought you into that? I curious. Okay, so my memory of you is like not that at all. Because like I've been we met when I was a kid. I mean I don't know. I was kind of a kid, 18, 19. School ministry.
Yeah.
And I had no idea like that was even in your heart, like that whole zone of stuff until like 7 years ago. I went to like school of worship. You're teaching a class on kind of processing through creative writing, like processing grief and hurt and just even life. It was kind of like a general kind of umbrella through creative writing. And I remember sitting in that class and like actually kind of being like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea this was like in your heart and this like powerful too. I was getting, like rocked. I still do some of the stuff that you had in there. And then fast forward a couple years, I went to a youth pastor's thing with Tom Crandall, hands out like it's a I don't even know if it's still a manual around, but it's like a brief on counseling for teenagers that you and someone else, Heidi, no,
Amelia, maybe?
yeah, Amelia,
No.
yeah,
Okay.
Amelia like helped kind of co-write and put in stuff in there. So I was like, dude, this is crazy. Where did that all start for you? Like that?
Man, 12 years old.
Okay, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's my love for counseling literally started when I was 12. I was sitting around the dinner table with my dad.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about David and his mighty men. Some people might not know about David and his mighty men, but they're like the coolest guys in the Bible.
Totally.
And so my dad's like a great storyteller. So he's telling me all these crazy stories and basically, the gist of it is David's running for his life, hiding in caves. You have when he's hiding in caves, you have all these outcasts coming and hiding with him. And after hearing that story, what happened is when these guys are hiding in caves, they're starting to get transformed. Like their core values are getting transformed, the way they see themselves getting transformed.
Yeah.
And they, like 32 of them turn out to be like these great, mighty guys. Like one guy could kill 1,000 dudes, two guys could kill 10,000. Like they're doing all this cool stuff. Well, I'm 12 listening to this story and I'm thinking, I want to do that. So I literally tell my dad that, like, I want to do that. And he was thinking like, you want to kill 1,000 dudes, which at 12, yeah, I probably did. But no, I literally said, like, I want to transform broken people, like the lost broken people.
Yeah.
I had one more encounter. I don't know if it was a week later or months later, but it was in that same time frame where, I grew up in the church my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And we had youth group on Wednesdays, like every youth group. And I hated youth group. It was so boring, man. It was or Bethel worship or anything like that,
Yeah.
So it was all right, but it was just boring. So I remember thinking like, I got to get out of youth group. I got to tell my dad I don't want to go to youth group, which I know isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, and my dad comes home from work, and I tell him like, man, I don't want to go to youth group. And we're sitting on his bed, and he says, how come? I'm like, I don't know. Have you checked like the long-term effects of boredom on kids? I mean, I'm just like,
You're working there. That's awesome.
yeah. I just said like, it's boring, you know, and there's non-Christians there, and people cuss, and
Yeah.
he's like, give me one of those like, oh wow, yeah, totally. And he says, it sounds like he said, it sounds like you're going for yourself. And now when you're 12, you think like, yeah. And I thought he was with me, you know, like I thought I was.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I am. And he goes, well, son, going for yourself is the lowest level of living as a Christian.
Wow.
And I was like, ooh, like I totally got crushed.
Yeah.
Then he looked me in the eyes and he said, son, people need you. Like they literally need what you have.
Yeah.
And it's not okay for you to go to church or to youth group or live this life going for yourself. Like people need you. So literally from that day on, I started going to youth group, and I didn't have training. I just started like finding broken people, hurting people. And I would talk to him. I'd talk to him for hours. I'd pull him outside of youth group. Then I became one of the youth group leaders eventually. Yeah. And just from there, my whole entire life, I've just been building and building and building. So
wow, that's
my passion for people and counseling and emotional health came from.
Totally. Now, obviously, like this is, I don't want to, make you feel awkward or weird, or, kind of coming from that perspective, and obviously, like your dad's Chris Vallotton, people know who he is. There's, some sort of like public figure kind of attached to sort of the environment that you're growing up in.
Yeah.
You get married, you have kids, and then you kind of actually experience like some real tragedy in your own personal life, kind of in a public zone. I know a lot of people probably that are not necessarily directly attached to Bethel aren't unfamiliar with the story and stuff.
Right.
But I actually wanted to talk about it because I feel like there's a lot of people that go through similar stuff and they immediately disqualify the rest of their life.
Right, it's true.
And I don't know. I just wanted to. Is it okay if you can kind of share a little bit of what that was for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So 2007, my marriage fell apart, and that was one of the toughest years of my life, to be honest.
Yeah.
The next one being my nervous breakdown, which maybe we'll talk about in a little bit. But there's lots of details around why my marriage fell apart. Mostly a couple of things. One, we got married super young.
Yeah.
So I was engaged in high school, and it ended up that. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to tell a story and honor every single person involved, because it's been such a long time.
Yeah, I really appreciate it too.
I actually wrote a book.
Oh, did you really?
Oh yeah, years ago. Supernatural Power of Forgiveness. Where it shares the story in there.
Okay.
And so ultimately, our marriage fell apart. My ex-wife ended up, in another relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, almost what felt like overnight, I'm a single dad, a revival group pastor, a pastor at the church, one of our counselors here on staff.
Oh, wow.
Just had to figure out, like, what do you do? What do you do when you're a marriage counselor? Your marriage I literally felt like I woke up one day and like it was gone. I couldn't save the thing that I help other people save.
Yeah.
Pretty humbling. It's
interesting too when you say it that way, because like marriages and relationships, it really is both people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I over the years I've helped, I can't even count how many people I've helped their marriages stay together.
Yeah.
Both people have to want it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, I in that time, I really did have to figure out, like, when you go through a divorce or any kind of pain, death in the family, a sick husband, sick child, literally for me, all the happy memories, all the happy moments automatically flip to pain.
Wow.
Everything that was awesome is now not awesome anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, and so,
Is
I
that,
had to
sorry,
go.
is that one of the reasons you think, like, especially when you have kids in the mix, where like the relationships, like let's say you with your children would have the potential to start to turn sour in some of that stuff just because of the association of the pain and memories and stuff? I mean, it's
Yeah,
interesting thinking about it from that way,
there's so many different dynamics, everything from what happened in, because there's so many different types of breakups or divorce, or, I have friends who they lost a child.
Yeah.
Was 14, and they had other kids. They had 4 other kids, and so there, there's so many questions like, why God, right? Why God did you put me here? And you can spend years working that out, or you can spend months or weeks, or just depends on the scenario. But yeah, I think when we have tons of pain, we want to figure out how to get out of it. And pain has lots of different voices, and so right away, regardless of whether you lose a child or you lose your marriage, or you lose your job for long periods of time, they actually say for a man losing his job for long periods of time is harder on him than a divorce or a death in the family, statistically.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's lots of things that we don't categorize as like incredibly painful that alters people's lives. And so, the ultimate thing, I just remember like I remember the first day where I found out like my entire life has now changed. My marriage is gone. I'm sitting on my bed thinking like my entire life has changed.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my life is, I don't even know if I have a job. I don't know what I'm going to do besides raise these kids. That's literally the phrase that went through my mind. Like, where I got to raise these kids. And it just felt like every road was horrible. Every road that I went down, there was no easy path.
Yeah.
And I decided in that moment, like, I got to figure out how to work through pain. Like, I got to figure out how to do this life well, so that I don't have to rework anything. Mm-hmm. I didn't I didn't want to be left like wounded or maimed from this, because in the time, like, you don't fully believe that it's going to be over, but somewhere inside you're like, someday I won't feel like this.
Yeah.
And I want to do it well, but at the same time, like, I don't know how to do it well. I got to figure it out. So that's really where I was.
Yeah. It's almost one of those situations where it's like you're able to kind of see yourself in a third person, where you're like, this isn't eternity, but I don't know how to get to like that next place.
I know for moments, there are lots of days where I felt like I'm never going to get out of this. Yeah. I'm never going to get out of this.
I have a kind of a big question, especially in today's culture where, you take the context of being raised in church, sexual purity. Hey, I'm going to save myself for marriage. You get married, that whole kind of context. Obviously, that in of itself is like difficult to communicate to a lot of young people today.
Right.
Just because the culture that they're in. But okay, so if we get that there, I've run into many people that after they get married, somehow the perspective of like sexual purity and saving yourself from marriage, and it's like post divorce, like it just doesn't even matter anymore for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if like in some of the stuff that you've run into, how you communicate or how you help people through that process. You know what I mean? I don't know if you get. It's like they get divorced and then they just start sleeping around, or they move in with their girlfriend or boyfriend, or.
So those are all the effects of not processing pain correctly.
Okay.
Right. So pain has a voice, and the voice says, "Fix me now.
Okay.
Do whatever it takes to fix me." And just like you, like when you wrestle, when you grapple.
Yeah.
If somebody has you in a choke, I mean, you're literally telling us do whatever you have to. I mean, that's your first instinct.
Oh yeah, we actually use that to capitalize on people to create openings. You know what I mean? Like you chain attacks together.
Right. Yeah. And so you will do anything to get out of that desperate choke, which may be even a worse move. You may get yourself, or a leg lock. Mm-hmm. You may give your back up in order to get out of pain right here, knowing that you're going to get worse pain, but it doesn't connect quickly.
Yeah.
And if you're seasoned enough, right? So a seasoned fighter will calm himself down and work through where he's at to not put himself in further danger. And so, I realized right away, like, pain wants me to medicate it. It wants me to medicate it. It needs some sense of, you're going to be okay, calm down. So a lot of people, alcohol does that.
Okay.
Sex does that right away. I mean, think about, you have an orgasm, you get dopamine released to your brain.
Yeah.
You get a rush of adrenaline. Those are incredible chemicals.
Yeah.
Incredible painkillers.
Yeah.
Now, they don't last forever, and they ultimately cause more pain, but we're not thinking rationally when we're in tons of pain.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking, like, how do I get a quick fix? That's what most people are, that's what the average person thinks.
Yeah.
And that's natural. That's a natural thing to think, is get me out of this right now. And so, ultimately what we have to do is really make a decision. What do I want my life to be long term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to sit down and think, like, you can either talk to your older, wiser self. That's one way that psychologists would say it.
Okay.
Like, what am I going to be happy with in 5 years? And talk to that guy that's 5 years older, that girl that's 5 years older, and say, like, what do I want to be able to tell my future kids? What do I want to be able to tell my future spouse? And I really tried to live from there. So I spent hours, hundreds of hours, literally working through the pain, working through the memories. And I'll give 5 steps to doing that, because people are like, how do I do it?
It's really daunting.
Yeah, for $20, we'll tell you.
Exactly. I'll put a little link there. You just donate now. I'm like,
we'll split it. But I literally decided, like, someday I'm going to look another woman in the eye. So this is how I stayed pure, sexually even.
Okay.
I'm going to look another woman in the eye. I'm going to have to look my kids in the eye. Mm-hmm. So my oldest was 9. Today he's 18 years old.
Wow.
I'm going to have to look him into the eye and explain to him exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I decided, like, the pain is something, it's a fact. I'm in it. It's a motivator. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in it forever. So the more I take healthy steps, the more I embrace it, the less I'm afraid of it, the less I let it make, emotions are great indicators. They're horrible decision makers.
Totally.
And I don't want to shut them down, but at the same time, I need to make decisions logically when I'm super emotional.
Yeah. So, emotions are great indicators, but horrible decision makers.
They should be a part of the decision-making process, right? Yeah. If you're dating a girl and you don't feel anything for her,
totally.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you're dating a girl and you feel like sleeping with her, that's normal. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's an indication of, like, hey, everything's working. It's working. You have a sex drive. Congratulations. Let's train.
Yeah.
So, when you're in pain, there's just all kinds of things I wanted to do. I wanted to date another girl. I wanted to go and run away, drive away from here and never come back, take my kids. There's all kinds of things that you want to do. Yeah. And 99% of them you can't do. I mean, the last thing I wanted to do is what I had to do.
Yeah.
Sit down and literally process through each and every memory, literally going through a process. Wow. And until this one memory is now healed, and I got the next one. Yeah. And the next one. And the next one. It's like training, man.
Yeah. And when you were doing that, like, each memory, obviously I would assume you're still having to work. You're still dad. You're still so the rest of your life didn't shut down. So you're driving in the car, a memory comes up. You can't process. You got kids in the car.
Right.
How do you go from that place to making time to process? Do you know what I'm saying? Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I have some rules.
Okay.
The first one, like, and this goes towards anybody that, if you had an affair, if you have any type of pain you're in, the first thing that people let go of is they let go of fun. Mm-hmm. The first thing they do. A husband has an affair on a wife, and they'll come and see me in the counseling, in counseling, and I'll ask both of them, when's the last time you had fun? They can't even remember.
Yeah.
Well, you always have to, your inflow always has to match your outflow. Or I can say like this, your outflow always has to match your inflow, right? So what they do, and what we all do, is we start to process and we start to cry, and then it's taking your emotional energy. But if you never refill that, you get nervous breakdowns, you crash.
Wow.
And so for starters, I had a really great process. So I ate well, I worked out.
It's people don't realize how. Sorry, the audio broke up for there for a second, but people don't realize how critical eating well, like eating the right foods and exercise, are for your mental health. I mean, it's like the two biggest things.
It's the thing that fuels you, right? Your food.
Yeah.
And every time you work out, you're releasing endorphins to your brain.
Yeah.
Which is making you happy. It's refilling you. And so, I ate well, I slept well, I had fun, I processed through pain.
Yeah.
I eat well, sleep well, have fun, play with the kids, process through pain.
Yeah.
So I just kept that routine. I just kept going, eat well, sleep well, process, have fun, process through pain.
Yeah.
So some days I would process a lot. I had the energy, just like everyone else. I'd have the energy, and I wasn't conjuring up thoughts. A lot of times people conjure up thoughts. I wasn't doing that. Like whatever God and my body took care of on its own, great.
Yeah.
Whatever here right now, the memory right now, I'm going to take that one memory. So I'll give you my 5 steps, just really quick.
Yeah, that's great.
So if I had a memory in the car and couldn't process in the car, I would take my kids home and let them know, like, hey, I need an hour. Dad's going to go have some of his time. I put on a movie for the kids or whatever. Yeah. I'd go in my room. I'm going to process that one memory that I had. So take one thought at a time, not 51.
Yeah. And
that's the first mistake that people make, is they try and take, like, why did she leave me, or why did I do this? It's like too big, man. One thing, right?
Yeah.
Focus on that one thing. So that's where I'd start to journal. And when you're journaling, especially as a Christian, it's so hard because you want to be like, oh, I forgive everyone that's ever wronged me, or start from there. You can't start from like, it's just not real. It's not real. So if I was frustrated, if I was angry at myself, then my journaling looked like that.
Yeah.
If I was angry at her, or angry at, feeling powerless or upset with God, I'm starting with that. I'm like, Lord, this is where I'm at. Like David in the Psalms. You like, why have you forsaken me? And you're like, oh gosh. Job, or there's lots of different examples, but I started with that. And so I always say this, like, when you're processing alone in the comfort of your own home, it's not a commentary on your character. It's a commentary on the pain that you're in. So I started to process the pain, and I literally, about that one memory, I would just write, and I'd write to music that matched my mood. So no, it wasn't happy. It wasn't, hallelujah. You'll get there, but it wasn't that when I started. It was. So I'm processing all this sad stuff, right, in my journal about this one memory. Well, you come to a point where pretty soon there's nothing left to process. Like, I don't know if you've ever done that. If you just stick on one memory and you're crying about something, and there's nothing left to cry, eventually you're like, okay, I'm kind of feeling weird because there's nothing.
You feel awkward with yourself almost. You're kind of like, all right, it's okay.
Yeah, so you can go on.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful place, because typically what happens is you get rid of all this excess emotion and you get down to the real question.
Yeah.
Is anyone ever going to love me again?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I need answered, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Did you make me this way? Am I a failure? Whatever your scenario. So I would find that at the end of my processing, I had an actual question I need to answer from God, not just a need to talk.
Yeah.
So I would take that question and then bring that to God. Like, Lord, what are you going to do about this? A lot of it would be like, what are you going to do about my kids? Are they going to be okay?
Yeah.
When God answered that question. So I did all that processing to get down to this real question.
Yeah.
He answers that question. Now, when the Lord speaks to you like that, it does something, man. It's different than just a theory, like God's good. Like, literally, I have this encounter with God. He speaks to my heart.
Yeah.
Gives me an answer. From that place, now I'm going, okay, God, how do you see my wife, or how do you see the scenario that I'm in?
Yeah.
That's where he shows me the truth about it.
Yeah.
I have compassion. Once I have compassion for the person that wronged me, or for myself, or the mistake, then I go back and I forgive.
Right.
So everything that I wrote before are things that I need to forgive. But if you forgive before you actually have real compassion, it won't last.
Wow. Yeah.
So when you forgive from compassion, you'll probably never process the same thing twice.
That's crazy. That's really cool. It's like, so getting to that point where you're actually hearing the Lord answering that heart question produces understanding and compassion. Like, it's empathy is what that is. It's like genuine, like, understanding, and then being able to step into forgiveness from that point.
Go back with forgiveness from there. Once you have your answer, right? Because
Yeah.
now my answer trumps.
Mm-hmm.
It trumps all this pain and everything. I've already got it out. I've acknowledged it. My heart is whole in this one tiny little area. So it's like 1,000 little puzzle pieces that you put together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I process, it's just one more piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting too is there's so many kind of, as you're describing this, I'm thinking about how many little things happen in our life, especially like, I'm in the middle of reading this book right now. I'm almost done with it. It's called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell. You got to read it. It's
What's it called again?
The Boy Crisis.
Okay.
I had the privilege of actually interviewing him on the podcast, and he reached out. We're doing a Father's Day special because he lives in Mill Valley. He lives like 15 minutes from here. So, but he co-wrote it with John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, way back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of in this like guy mode right now, like the man psyche sort of thing. But his whole thing is about shifting from, not shifting out of, but like the difference between like a health conscious versus like a warrior conscious sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the things that make men like successful in things, also the flip side is when you're not learning how to process, or you don't have a healthy mental state, or you don't have a healthy heart in the process, like that also is what can cause destruction in your life, you know? And but as you're talking, I'm just thinking about the number of things, guys, we don't process that take place through life, you know?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And women, you know,
Yeah.
all the same. I mean, who likes to sit down
Yeah.
and look at their pain?
Yeah.
Who likes to sit down and look at their failure?
Yeah.
Who likes to sit down and actually think through, why did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
What am I lacking? What do I need?
Yeah.
Because typically those are all the places we feel powerless in.
Yeah.
And if you feel powerless in an area, you don't want to, especially if you're competitive, you don't even want to try because you think you're.
Yeah. I mean, you think about like little disappointments at work or in a relationship, you're hanging out with a friend, something happens that gets all funky, and you go home and you're just like pissed, you know, like you're upset because this weird thing happens, and like people don't have tools. I think a lot of times don't have tools on how to just process those sorts of things, you know.
The other thing is the grit that it takes to work all the way through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're
stopping short.
It's one thing, but when you're talking about, you know, a lot of people would really benefit, and I'm not trying to throw a pitch out there, but I think what a counselor can do in 6 months, take 5 months, 3 months, takes a normal person years to get through.
Yeah.
And I think that because of our culture, we typically feel like, man, going to a counselor is what broken people do.
Yeah.
And no, getting strength from someone in your life is probably the strongest thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So, you know, we spend all kinds of money on all this stuff that's great and helpful, but I'm like, invest money in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a coach, you know, you understand what a coach does. Well, you can watch YouTube all day long and you can read all the books, but when you get on the mat with somebody, the best person to roll with first is your coach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You roll with life.
Yeah.
Or you roll with someone who really wants to take your head off. There's a lot of people in this life that, you know, they're not putting the coach on their team.
Yeah.
Literally just trying to, they dive in for a second into the pain. They're like, whoa, that kicked my butt. I'm done. we're going to wait for time to heal.
Yeah.
Time doesn't heal. It's just a revealer.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. They say like, give it time, it'll heal. But with emotional stuff like this, I don't think that's the case,
It's
Just
not the case for anything. You break
yeah.
your leg, don't reset it. Just wait.
Exactly.
If time healed, honestly, people in prisons would be the most whole people in this world.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's it's process. It's process
Yeah.
plus time that heals. You do the process right, and you take your time.
Yeah.
You're going to walk out much better. So we have to invest in the most important person around, which is yourself at first.
Yeah.
You can't give away anything that you don't have. So I just encourage people who are listening to this, like, if spend quality time putting the right people in place for your life. If it's finances that's hurting your life, hire a financial advisor or get around people that are better than you.
Yeah.
If it's pain that you have a hard time with, we'll find some people that have already walked through pain. They actually have a real process. They have good fruit from it. Put them in your life. You're struggling with your kids, put some people that know how to manage kids in your life. Put the Danny Silks in your life.
Yeah.
Read the books, do the work, go to the workshop. I mean, actually invest in your life, and you'll get the most out of it. So,
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. What so kind of in that, if I can go back to something real quick. So take the person that divorced. They're kind of their perspective. You said a lot of times like the breakdown in sexual purity out like post divorce is usually they're medicating pain. It's usually a fruit of like trying to deal with pain and unprocessed pain and just all of that goes in there. Obviously it's not the only reason. I'm just saying that, that was one of the things you highlighted, but what would you say, like, how do you help people? Like I've had conversations with people where they're just like, dude, my idea on marriage is shattered and I don't even know. And it just, I'm sure you've heard the arguments. I'm sure you've heard these things.
Just a piece of paper.
Yeah, oh, totally. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't matter. Like, we're going to commit to each other. And, it's like, oh, yeah. Man, all right. It's not just a piece of paper, like.
All right.
But I don't know, like, how do you help if someone's listening to this and they're kind of in that zone of like, hey, coming from a broken relationship, disillusionment from what they thought marriage is supposed to be or relationship in general. Maybe, obviously, I know we got to be done in a couple minutes, but maybe if there's just a couple things, maybe some either places where they can look for healthy input on that or just a couple ways to kind of process through that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's nothing in this world that hasn't been abused. Mm-hmm. Everything from, friendships to sex to everything in this world's been abused. And so when I think people need to stop and sit down and ask themselves when they're making big life decisions, right? For instance, I'm now going to choose that marriage it's no longer important to covenant my life to somebody. Really, when you break it down, you're really saying you keep this unspoken thing over somebody when you just live with them. As long as it works well, I'm here.
Yeah.
When it doesn't work well, I'm gone. If you want to live your life fear-based, which that's literally fear-based,
yeah,
that's great. It's you're gonna have to understand the repercussions of living a fear-based life.
Yeah.
If you want to or not. So ultimately, you're trying to save yourself from pain, but you're adding tons of fear, tons of confusion, tons of more pain on top of it, and reinforcing that relationships are painful. Yeah. Because I know that marriage is not easy.
Yeah.
And you need that glue. You literally need that glue that says, you do whatever you want. I'm not separating from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to work through this. Like I am going to do whatever it takes to put my nose to the grindstone and figure out how to love you, figure out your love languages. And so I'd say, like, if your marriage ended and now you're questioning whether marriage is good or not, marriage is not a box full of unending joy and happiness and peace. Marriage is an empty box.
Yeah.
And whatever you put into it is what you'll be able to take out.
Yeah.
And so I'll challenge people like, no, you first get well yourself because you only attract what you are.
Yeah.
So if you want a beautiful marriage, attract a lot of beauty inside of yourself. I mean, find it.
Yeah.
Get good communication skills. Learn boundaries. Get healing for what you've gone through.
Yeah.
At that point, now you have something beautiful to offer somebody else.
Yeah.
At the same time, marriage is one of the most incredible journeys in life. I mean, we talk about how hard it is, but at the same time, like, it's really this beautiful mix of love and joy and peace, because that's what I've stewarded to carry around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, even that even, I mean, just straight applies to single people. You know what I mean? The perspective of marriage is an empty box. So look at what you're about to bring to it, and then go take care of yourself first. You know?
It's so true, man. And fill it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Fill it with beauty. What is beauty? It's positive self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty is a healthy balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's great communication skills.
Yeah. It's
great boundaries, right? There is no love if you don't have boundaries and you don't have needs. There's no way to actually care for you.
Yeah.
Learn how to do that. And then yeah, you're going to go through hard times, but those will just make you stronger, you know? Mm-hmm. You can't expect to grow stronger trying to avoid hard stuff, you know? And again, that's a lot of when we take a shortcut in life, like, I'm no longer going to get married, or I'm no longer going to commit to anybody long term. You know, you're just taking shortcut after shortcut after shortcut. Yeah. Never met somebody that was like, I'm so thankful that I just took shortcuts in life.
Yeah.
Best move ever. You know, again, just admit it. Like, I can't remember who it was, but they say we often, let me just get it right. We often trade short-term happiness for long-term reward.
Yeah.
Or sorry, short-term reward for long-term happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
We commonly do that, and that's a willpower issue. And so, you know, just take a look. They can take a look at their life and go like, am I sacrificing today my short-term reward? You know, my ice cream. Am I putting that away?
Yeah.
If you're trying to lose weight, it applies to every area. Am I going, instead of eating this today, instead of laying in bed today, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to stick to my plan.
Yeah. And
long term, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And looking at that long term self and continuing to go, this is who I am. This is what I am going to be. This is where I'm heading. And really putting in the time, the effort, the work, adding people to your life, building a team, a great team around you. So that's the first question they can ask is, do I have the right team around me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not my friends. Do I have the right team around me to win this game, whatever the game is?
Yeah.
Go divorce well, get through addiction well, have a happy marriage. Do you have the right team?
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know, you're going to stay in it longer than you have to.
Yeah. Last thing really quick. If somebody's in that situation, they're sitting there, hey, when can I start dating? Like that, the question, I mean, this applies to single people too. You know what I mean? I know what you're going to say, which would be when you're healthy, I think, but most people are going to be like, how long down the process road do I need to be before I'm quote unquote healthy, you know?
Yeah. A couple of things. So I always say, like, when you can leave the person better off than when you're ready.
Okay.
Regardless of what happens. So do you understand your needs?
Yeah.
Do you understand boundaries? Do you still have pain from your past? You know, if you're still working through pain, you're not ready.
Yeah.
They're going to inherit that pain.
Yeah.
How much? I mean, did I have no pain in my life? I don't know that I had zero, but I had an incredibly good process and had incredibly good people in my life that were helping me walk through it. And so it was no longer like she's going to be my answer.
Yeah.
And so I had worked through my divorce when I met Lauren. I wasn't in pain from my divorce. I think the everyday grind of being a single dad was hard.
Yeah.
It was painful. I would say that was the pain. It was hard.
Yeah.
So I was able to, when Lauren came in, I was able to.
Which is obviously, people that don't know, Lauren is your wife.
That's my wife.
Yeah. Okay.
So today is actually our anniversary. 7 years.
What? Dude, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I just put it in my mind, like, I became a student again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can I leave this woman better off? Was a question I was asking myself.
Yeah.
If I can't, then I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And if I'm not better off for what I've been through, then I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So it literally breaks down to, can I do boundaries? Which people should read the boundaries book.
Yeah.
Just read it.
Yeah.
Take notes. Do I know what my needs are?
Yeah.
Do I understand my personality type? Those are all things that make a healthy relationship. Ultimately, if it doesn't go well, do I have God in the God spot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all that stuff's like, it's in the book that I wrote. I think I have it right here. Yeah, I'm doing a stupid pitch.
No, dude, I was just about to ask, actually, so that's good.
Well, I wrote this a long time ago, Supernatural Power of Forgiveness, which literally teaches you how to put God back in the God spot.
Yeah. Which
ultimately gets rid of fear and puts him in control. It's about working through pain, really.
Yeah.
So this looks incredible, and that manual that you saw a long time ago, transferred into this.
Hey, dude, that's awesome. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
This manual, it's Emotional Prosperity, a practical guide to counseling.
I use it dude, when teenagers come to my office, I pull it out real quick, give myself a quick refresher.
I mean, it's literally for that.
Yeah.
It's literally for guys like you. It's for people that want to learn cycles. They want to learn how to start an appointment. They want to learn boundaries. They want to learn how to set up an action plan at the end. So, you know, there's lots of really great tools and resources. People can check this out on Amazon, or they can go to Bethel and get it.
Awesome.
I have a YouTube channel as well where I talk about working through pain. It's just Emotional Prosperity. They can find it there.
So the YouTube channel is Emotional Prosperity.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sweet.
Yeah.
What was the boundaries book that you referred to?
It's called Boundaries.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
It's the most famous book on boundaries.
Okay.
It just says boundaries, got a pencil line down the middle.
Perfect.
But there's a lot of really great resources for people nowadays, you know, from everything, again, from YouTube channels to you can learn how to counsel from that manual. You can learn how to process through pain, but you got to put the time and the effort in.
Yep. Yeah.
So as long as people start focusing on long-term, what do I want my life to be?
Yeah.
What do I want to say to my grandkids? What do I want to be able to say to myself? What do I want to say to my future wife? Whether you're dating, you've never gone through pain, or whether you've gone through lots of pain. Those are always, right? Those are the markers for our life. When we stand before Jesus, he's going to ask us, like, did you learn how to love?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we live our life based upon that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Dude,
So
that's powerful.
this short-term living, it's great to know how you're feeling, what you need in the short term, but we always want to live focused on both the short term and the long term.
Yeah.
What today is going to get me to long-term actual satisfaction? What am I going to be happy with?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Dude, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got to go.
It's great, man.
Dude, we got to do this again. All right.
We will.
Because,
That'd be great.
Because you even touched on some stuff that we didn't get to, and I'm like, I want to ask questions, but it's okay. It's all right. Dude,
Justin, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. If people want to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of it? Emotional Prosperity is a YouTube channel.
Yeah. I'm just finishing a website for that too as well. They can check on Instagram under Jason Vallotton. They can hit me up there.
Okay.
Those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And then if they are in the Redding area, they just reach out to Bethel Church to set up a counseling appointment in the whole kind of department. Not with you, but I mean, just if they're, they're like, hey, I need a counselor, they can just call the office and do that.
Absolutely. Cool. And I have, you know, I don't mind referring people to places as part of my job.
Okay, that's awesome.
Referrals. They can email pastoralcare at, is it Bethel.com or at Bethel.com?
Okay. And that's like if they're like, hey, I live in Alaska or I'm down south somewhere.
They can.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, pastoralcare at Bethel.com.
Cool.
I'll do my best
to
get them to the right play.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Wait, if you're going to email me, don't email me like 5 pages.
Okay.
Just email me like bullet points. Like, here's what I've gone through. Here's where I'm at. This is what I think I need.
That's awesome.
super good with that.
Okay.
If you read 5 pages, I don't know, man. You just might never hear back. Yeah.
I get text messages like that every once in a while. And
Yeah.
I'll respond like, "Hey man, you just sent me a book. This should have been an email." Like,
So true. All right, bro.
awesome. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.